Well, hello again, and again, the usual apology for the poor production quality. Sorry if I'm going to make you seasick by doing this sort of thing, but anyway, I hope that the information that is in the video is the important bit. Now, this is live. The House Oversight hearing on increased UFO sightings, national security, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I've been watching this for some time, probably an hour or so. A lot of fluff, really. There's nothing new in there, as myself and others have been saying. You know, if you've got these three guys as witnesses, well, we've heard it all before. What do you expect to hear? And what sort of what sort of questions should be asked? And I was surprised actually that Tim Burchett actually asked some of the right questions. So let's just go to Senator Tim Burchett questioning David Grush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to direct this, I believe, to Mr. Grush, but if any of you all feel like you need to jump in, just jump right in. We're good. Has the U.S. government become aware of actual evidence of extraterrestrial, otherwise unexplained forms of intelligence? And if so, when do you think this first occurred?
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open, both scientifically. Right. Certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Okay. Can you give me the names and titles of the people with direct first-hand knowledge and access to some of this crash retrieval, some of these crash retrieval programs, and maybe which facilities, military bases that the recovered material would be in?
Good question. That is the right question. Now, he sort of runs over it a little bit here, which he probably shouldn't have done, but good question, Mr. Burchett.
I know a lot of Congress talked about we're going to go to Area 51 and, you know, and there's nothing.
He doesn't really need to go down this path here. He's burning up his time for nothing here.
There anymore anyway. It's just, you know, and we move like a glacier. As soon as we announce it, I'm sure the moving vans would pull up, but please.
I can't discuss that publicly, but I did provide that information both to the Intel committees and the Inspector General.
And we could get...
So Mr. Burchett's just asked him as he about actual evidence, and of course there isn't any. He said, well, I have discussed this with others, you know. I can't tell you, but I've discussed it with others.
Get that in the skiff. If we were allowed to get in a skiff with you, would that be probably what you would think?
Sure, if you had the appropriate accesses, yeah.
What special access?
What is a skiff, I wonder? You know, it sounds like something you'd sort of ride around in on a pond to me.
Those programs cover this information, and how is it possible that they have evaded oversight for so long?
I do know the names. Once again, I can't discuss that publicly and how they've evaded oversight. In a closed setting, I can tell you the specific...
It's all fluff. We're getting nothing from this, you know, as predicted.
Tradecraft use.
All right. When do you think those programs began, and who authorized them?
I do know a lot of that information, but that's something I can't discuss publicly.
Yeah, Mr. Grush here is using exactly the same script used by Lou Elizondo, isn't he? Yeah, well, of course, I can't talk about it. It's all classified. What is the point of this, exactly? This is a complete and utter waste of time, isn't it?
All right. If any of y'all want to jump in on any of this, you're more than welcome to.
I wish I could jump in on it.
What level of security clearance is required to fully access these programs?
Well, anybody who has...
and I say that because myself, Representative Gates and Representative Luna were basically turned away at one point at Eglin, so please go right ahead.
Certainly a difference between member access and, say, somebody like me, but anybody who has a TSSCI clearance and meets the eligibility criteria, the Access Adjudicative Authority should be able to grant you access.
Mr. Burchett, if you'll yield, so just to put a fine point on that, there's nothing that you're aware of that's above special access program classification.
It's a misnomer that there's anything actually above top secret. Executive Order 13526.
So, no such thing as above top secret. Make a note of that, Mr. Good.
delineates classification levels.
Right, but I draw a point on that because we can have access to those programs, and so the notion that we're not being given that access sort of defies our typical muscle memory here in Congress. Thank you, Mr. Burchell. I'll yield back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gates.
So what's he saying there? That it makes no sense that they're being denied access? So they're not being denied access because they don't have the right clearance, because they can easily get the right clearance. There's not a problem with it. Is that what he's saying here?
Along those lines, Title 10, you may not know this or not, but Title 10.
I think it's quite interesting that you can just see George Knapp on the left-hand side there scratching his left ear, and over Grush's right shoulder, and over his left shoulder is our old mate Jeremy Corbell, and they've made sure that they're spaced. So there's someone between them behind Mr. Grush himself, and they've made sure they're spaced in such a way that they're going to get on. They're going to get on TV. Immediately to the left and right of the primary witness here. And they've made sure that they're not obscured from the television cameras. I think that's quite funny.
10 and Title 50 authorization, as they seem to say they're inefficient. So who gets to decide this, in your opinion, in the past?
It's a group of career senior executive officials,
Okay, are they government officials?
both in and out,
Do what?
both in and out of government, and that's about as far
I
as I
got
can
you.
go there. Yeah.
All right, well, that leads to my next question. Which private corporations are directly involved in this program?
Excellent question, Mr. Burchett. Excellent question.
How much taxpayer money has been invested in these programs?
I would have left that as an individual question. Name the companies. Don't fluff it up with this other stuff. Get it, one question at a time. Separate the questions.
To your knowledge. Well, we know we audit the Pentagon every year.
See, now he's burning up his time for nothing here. This is irrelevant, really.
And I've been here 5 years, and they fail the dadgum thing every year. They lose over $1 billion a year.
So now the UFO fanboys are going to be saying, oh, yeah, well, that goes into all these UFO black projects. Of course it does. Yeah, right.
And I was told the Department of Defense maybe 60% of their assets are unaccounted for, whatever the heck that means. In the public's...
Oh, he was doing so well. Come on, Mr. Burchett, for goodness sake. Stick to one question at a time. That first question was perfect. Now you're giving him a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Sector, you go to jail for that kind of crap. So tell me.
Yeah, I know when I'm $1 off of my DTS travel voucher, I get hammered, but seems like it doesn't work the other way.
If you sell over if you sell over $600 worth of stuff on eBay now, you get a call from the IRS. So please, what corporations?
Yeah, I don't know the specific metrics towards the end of your question.
What specific companies? So he's saying he doesn't know, basically. I don't know the specific... This is gobbledygook. I don't know the specific metrics to answer your question, So either he's been told the names of these companies or he hasn't. Which is it?
The specific corporations I did provide to the...
Okay. So he does know the names of the corporations, and he has provided the names of these corporations to...
committees in specific divisions, and I spent 11 and a half hours with both Intel committees. So.
Okay, has there been an active...
So what Mr. Burchett should be saying here is, can we get access to that information? Can we get that list of companies? Why is Grush prepared to give it to these people and not to the Congress here?
U.S. government disinformation campaign to deny these?
See, this could be this could all be rubbish science fiction stories that have been fed to Grush that he believes. He's just repeating it to anyone that will listen. It doesn't mean there's any substance to any of it.
Existence of unidentified aerial phenomena, and if so, why?
I can't go beyond what I've already espoused publicly about that.
Straight from the Lou Elizondo script.
What you said tipped.
I really wish I could question these guys. Well, actually, it's not worth questioning the pilots. I really wish I could question this guy, Mr. Grush. Sorry. I really wish I could interview him.
Okay, I've been told to ask you what that is and how to get it in the record.
What,
Which
what have you stated publicly in your interviews for the congressional record?
Yeah.
if you reference my News Nation interview and I talk about a multi-decade, campaign to disenfranchise public interest, basically.
fair enough, Colin.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
apologize, Mr. Chairman. I yield back negative 21 seconds.
Thank you.
Yeah, he shouldn't have burnt up. He burnt up a lot of his time there with irrelevant stuff. But I think we can all see where this is going. It's going nowhere.
Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for coming here today. I do concur with the ranking member as well as several other members here on this committee that this is a committee for whistleblowers and for the protection of whistleblowers as well. So we understand what you're putting on the table here and what you're putting on the line here, and we thank you for that. Mr. Grush, you sat on the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon Task Force created in the 2020 NDAA, correct?
Yes.
And he has no first-hand experience or no first-hand knowledge of ET visiting.
There have been some things that that have been mentioned here during this hearing that I wanted to pick up on. Mr. Graves, you mentioned specifically during the answers to one of your questions, you named Boeing contractors being engaged in an incident regarding this red cube about a football field wide. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the interaction, or Mr. Grush, either of you.
Yeah, 30 Boeing employees, he was saying, watch this football field size red square or rectangular object hovering over some facility of theirs. I haven't seen any pictures of that, have you? You would think that, I mean, if something like that hovered above, where I work, where I'm based at least, I'd get the phone out of my pocket and I'd film it. I'd take some photographs of it and I'd film it. We're not seeing any of that. We're not seeing one photograph. We're not seeing any one video clip. Anyway, it's 11:51 p.m. where I am at the moment. So just before midnight. I'm not going to waste any more of my time with this. I'll look at the news tomorrow, but I think it's pretty obvious where this is all going. It's going nowhere. When I saw what they had in mind with regard, questioning these witnesses, I thought it's not the way to do it. They need to find out. They should have asked Grush before they did any of this to name the companies, to name the people, and just subpoena them. Subpoena representatives from the companies. Subpoena the people that he names. Get them up here and get them talking about it, because this is just going to go nowhere. It's all going to be classified. It's all going to be, oh yeah, well I can't tell you that, Well, so that's what I've heard. Yeah. And of course, under oath, he can say that. He's not going to get into trouble for repeating something that he's been told that he believes. Doesn't make it true. I'm going to bed. I'll catch up on this tomorrow, but I think I can tell you with some confidence that what you're not going to see as an outcome from this is any tangible evidence of the planet being visited by extraterrestrials. As always, thanks for watching. Just a quickie, and maybe I'll catch you again.